newest one. I thought that's what I did.
Hmm. Okay,
My
wait.
notes are.
And we're live. Today is the 5th of May, um, Monday evening. I'm here with myself, Brian, and Viv. We're going to be working on testing, completing the tests for Codealia IDE. So we're almost there, I'd say. I'm just looking through the tests. Yes, while Viv is setting herself up. Yeah, so I think there's not a lot left to write, so it's good practice for you to finish that, finish the remaining specs. Reach.
I'm just trying to get your.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on a second. I did git check out Brian /
Right.
IDE reborn.
Uh-huh.
So I should be git status. I should be there. Not currently in any branch. Git branch. Where am I exactly? IDE reborn. No branch. On his look from my repo. No, I have that. It should be git pull upstream. I shouldn't have tossed it. Git pull upstream IDE. Git.
Well, in fact,
I tossed the old folder because but now I'm thinking that I'm going to need it if I do get. For some reason, I'm not on your branch. When I originally tried to pull your branch, I pulled it. Once I pulled your branch, then I wanted to create something that I could.
uh-huh.
I wanted to create a version so I could work on it and then push up to yours. So I slightly renamed it, but
Mm-hmm.
but that was like a couple of days ago. So what I cleared all those files. I tossed all those files. I wanted to start from scratch with yours from yesterday.
Okay.
But I've gone and I've fetched your. I've gone and I've checked out your IDE Reborn, but I still
Right.
seem to be on any branch. I guess I'm in a headless state right now. I
Hmm.
think. Do I have to check? I thought once I checked
Wait.
it out that I'd be on your branch.
Can you type git branch? Okay.
That's what I
Oh,
did
right here.
here, and it showed no
No
branch.
branch.
Is it because I'm in a headless state because I did a checkout without a -v? I didn't
Hmm.
create a branch on my repo. I just checked out
Um,
yours.
I'm trying to figure out what you've done to get yourself in this state. Not currently on any branches. Um, Git checkout. Oh, yes. So you git checkout Brian. No. Well, um, yes. So now what you have to do is just git checkout -b to Codealia IDE report or something.
That creates my branch. I see. That's what I did, and I ended up with IDE Reborn Vib, and it doesn't work. I have to delete that branch. I just haven't gotten
Okay.
around to it. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Right.
So I'm
Okay.
trying to
So, I think the easiest.
git check
So
out
what you've done now
-b.
is, yeah.
I
So what
see
you've
it.
done now is you checked out to a remote branch, which means you'll be in a headless state because you cannot
Correct.
save changes to any remote branches,
That was the problem.
only
Right.
to local branches. Yes. So there's two things you could do. You could either create a new local branch with the
That's what I
contents
tried to
of your.
do with IDE Reborn Vib, but it didn't take.
You probably, because you already have IDE Reborn Viv, you cannot, I mean, replace that. So you need to create it under a new name, or you could go to a local branch and then merge those changes from the remote branch into the local branch. Which one would you prefer?
I like to merge it in, so because I'm going to be working on this for a while.
Okay.
But I thought that each one was supposed to have its branch. Like if I do a feature, that each feature has its own branch, so I know what's going on, or story, whatever. So that I, and then it's merged into the original develop, and I can pull from develop and work from there. I want to do it the way you would do it. How would you do it?
Well, because this has a feature branch of its own already, I would just create a new feature branch that mimics the name that I've been using, IDE Reborn,
Okay. So that's what
and
I
then
tried to
work
do with
from there.
IDE Reborn. So should I call it the exact same thing, IDE Reborn?
You okay? What do you want to do? You want to create a new local branch, or do you want to merge changes into your current local branch?
I'd like to use IDE Reborn Viv. If not, I'm going to delete it and use
Okay,
something else. But it has to be
right.
IDE Reborn something,
Okay, go git check out IDE Reborn Viv.
or whatever. I mean, whatever you think I should call it.
Yep. Well,
I'm trying to get
IDE
this
Reborn
local
anything is
branch.
fine.
IDE
I just want to
Reborn.
know what you want to do,
Okay.
um, so
Um.
that I can
Okay,
I
Viv.
tell you what to do. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So now you're on that branch. This is on your local branch. Now what you want to do is replace the contents of this branch with the remote branch. So you go git reset double dash hard and then the name of the remote branch. Double dash after a space. So after reset a space. Yeah, and that's okay. And then the name of the remote branch. So that's Brian. No, it has to start with a Brian. Brian slash
That's how
ID
you have it
reborn.
up on your repo.
Yeah. Yep. That's what you fetched. So when you hit that, that should that should replace your current local branch contents with my remote branch contents. Okay. Can you type git log? Right. Let me see. The latest changes were by me. Did you fetch the latest stuff from, or can you try git pull Brian ID reborn? Press Q. Without the slash. It's a little confusing, but you'll get used to it. Okay. So, okay, now you're up to date with my latest um, stuff.
Okay. Alrighty.
Cool. Although, okay. So, well, I think how we're gonna do it is we're gonna do a bit of GitHub Pong. So, what I'll do is I'll write a couple of tests and then you implement them. How's that,
Okay.
Viv?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So that's easier on you. Okay, so I'll start with yeah. I'm just gonna go through all the tests and then figure out what's missing and add pending steps. So are you familiar with the describe and the it block now?
Yeah, that was what I was taking notes on.
Mhm.
Those are the only two blocks
Cool.
in there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, right.
So what file are you
I'm
in?
just I'm in container controller spec.
Okay. Which I should be able to find now. Wow. GitHub's. Oh, yeah.
to do this.
There you are. And container controller spec is only testing, like I wasn't able to see the relation here. It's only testing that HTML part 2, right? From the second
Yeah.
workshop. That's the only thing it's testing, correct?
Oh no, it's not testing the
I thought
workshop
it
part
was
at all. It's only testing the behavior,
of
the
the
logic
IDE.
of the yes, of the specifically the container controller part of the IDE, because this is the only part that has any logic right now.
Okay.
So what it's doing is it is testing all that logic. Let's see. So this one's failing. Oh, what else was failing? Let's see. Okay, that's
I have to look at that architecture file again to see
HTML.
where that is.
Says HTML the preview if a preview and editor are the, oh no, I think this is outdated. So yeah, so this X it when you put X in front of any of these functions like describe or
That
it,
yeah, that like that comments them out.
yeah, it marks them as pending. So you get
Oh,
this when you run the when you do open the spec runner, you have the yellow asterisk instead of a green dot or a X. X
they
means it's
show
failing.
they showed that, but they didn't show. I needed to see a video. I was reading. I actually needed to see a video so I could see what they were clicking. When they said, because they said spec runner, and I was looking for that spec runner dot. I think it's a dot HTML file. But
Uh-huh.
like, where is that file? Where's that spec runner? I couldn't find it in the master file for Jasmine. I was looking for the actual
Mm,
file. Where is it stored? No, I mean in
I
Codealia, here in Codealia. Where is that
oh
file
in
stored?
Codealia. Oh well, Codealia. We're using a gem which um,
Okay.
it doesn't expose the spec runner, but all we have to do is just like we have, Rails server, we have another special command to run it called rake jasmine.
Oh,
So
so it's okay.
when you run this task, it opens up a special um, opens up the server that runs the spec runner in localhost 8888. So
Okay.
yeah,
So how do I do
kind
that?
of
Just so I can see what the tests are running. I put rake. Oh,
Jasmine,
rake Jasmine. Hold on a second.
and that fires up a server, a local server running on port 8088.
Rake Jasmine. So it's like I'm running. Yeah, it's like I'm running like MAMP almost, um, which is separate from.
Um, okay, so your Ruby version is 1.9.3. You might have to.
Yeah, and I have it in there, and I've reset my Ruby version to be 2.1 because I have 2.1.1, but it doesn't
Mhm.
stay. It won't stay fixed. It keeps reverting back to 1.93. And I have to figure out how to make it stick. It won't stick, if that makes
You
sense.
need to create a. Are you using RVM?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Um, do you have a gem set set up, an RVMRC setup?
No, no, I don't. A gem set for
Okay.
RVM? No, I don't. Like a default gem set for RVM?
Um, you can set a default, but what we usually do is have a RVMRC file, which when you cd into that directory tells RVM that we're going to use this Ruby version for this application.
Oh,
That's
whoa.
what we usually do. Yeah. So
I see.
I'll show you my RVMRC, which okay. So I'm in my Codealia folder right now, right?
Mm-hmm. And so I
Um,
put it in the Codealia folder. I don't put it in my hidden files under Finder and on a Mac. Do you know what I mean? On my git
Nope.
whatever, my config files,
Nope. You
paths or
should put it
whatever,
inside the Codealia folder.
so
But of
that every
course, you need
time
to
I
have it.
that means that every time I pull down someone else's repo branch,
Oh, you need. What
do you
I
know what I
did
mean?
is add. What I did was add it to my global git ignore. So whenever it sees that file, it's gonna ignore it and never push it up.
Okay, so all right, okay, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. Alrighty,
Okay.
alrighty, go ahead.
So if I go vim dot, so you need to create an .rvmrc file, and inside
Dot.
the .rvmrc,
I'm going to create that with Sublime. File, new file, and it's a.
yeah,
This is like ops or something. I'm not quite sure. Dot .rvmrc. Okay.
yep. You just need to create a .rvmrc file that should be saved. Yes, use it.
hmm And saved within. It's being saved within Codealia right now.
Yep.
And what should it contain?
Okay, first I want you, wait, go back to your terminal before
hmm
we do that. Go back to your terminal, type rvm gemset list.
Within Codealia.
Yes. Well, anywhere to be.
There it
Okay.
is.
You have, right, gemset 2 point, right. What are you using? So, gemset for 2.1. You have 2.1.1.
Yeah,
So,
I do, but it won't.
okay, how
Yeah.
about use type rvm use 2.1.1.1. Oh, don't worry about the gem file for now.
Oh, okay. Use 2.1.1.
Yes.
What?
Executable Ruby missing something or okay, let's avoid that. Right. Go type rvm use 2.1.0.
I know that works. I don't know what's wrong with 2.1.1 though.
That's fine. Using okay. Yeah, we'll need to get you set up with installing 2.1.1 sometime. I don't know, Marcel, if you had problems installing 2.1.1, but yeah, Marcel's on a Mac as well. He might be in a better position to help you. Actually, I have a Mac for my work PC, but I never had problems with. Well, I never had to use 2.1.1. Anyway,
I'll reinstall it. I mean, it's installed. I'll go and reinstall it again.
yeah, try and
Okay.
do that. Okay, so now you're using 2.1.0.
hmm
Go type rvm gemset list again. Well, as a matter of fact, yeah, let's not set up an RVMRC yet, because come to think of it, um, if you fix the 2.1.1 issue, you're not gonna use the old gem set anyway. So go back to your gem file and set that back to 2.1.0, and then run bundle install. Yeah, you'll need that to run rake Jasmine. If yeah, there. Okay, so it's all installed. Cool. So let's just continue for now. We'll go back to that issue later on.
So you've called it rake
Jasmine.
Jasmine.
Yes. So that should fire up server on port 8888. Yep. So you can open your browser and go to localhost 8888.
Yeah, which is my MAMP one, typically. Makes
Is it?
sense. Yeah. That's what I usually use for MAMP. I presume it's fine though. Okay.
Yeah, okay,
Alrighty.
cool. Right, so Jasmine is running. Okay, so let me just finish writing these pending specs for you. So yeah, marking it with an X is pending. So when I ping this over to you, you should make all those yellow green.
Okay. All right. Let me get those pages with the matchers listed.
Yeah, don't worry, I can help with the matchers. Don't have to think too much about it. Um, let's see. Get session, it registers to the on change. Okay. So actually there's not a lot. There's only two that are failing, which are quite similar. This is John's implementation, which is actually still failing. So I'll keep it as that.
I have 14 specs, 8 failures, but you say you only have 2 on yours?
Oh, these are the two that we care about. The rest that are failing is just kept there for reference.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the old spec, but because John, I wrote this and John was trying to write it yesterday, he just used it as a reference when
Okay.
he was writing the specs.
Okay.
Yeah, but obviously things have changed now, so it's not gonna work at all. Once we're done, we should get rid of that file.
The one
Cool.
with the other failing tests on it.
Yes. Mm,
What is this?
add
Weird looking.
pending steps. Steps. Oops. Ping. Just gonna see if that's really all we want to test. Yeah, to be honest, part of it is already test weight.
What do you mean by it's already test weight? Meaning that it
Tested.
works?
Sorry. No, I didn't finish my sentence. Part of it's already tested. So that means half the test is already written.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Um, uh, maybe we want to test one more. Okay. Yeah.
God.
Add another test.
There we go. Here it is. Okay. All right.
Hmm. No, maybe I'll write that one later. Okay. Sorry.
So it's only these two that are being tested. The set editor and the make editable.
Um, yes. Okay. So I pushed up the
Okay.
latest stuff.
Alrighty.
Cool.
I
Just
see what's being
pull that
tested.
in and then feel free to edit that. There will be
Okay.
2 pending specs, not a lot.
Okay. Um, mm, I think that was it. Yeah. Space. Okay. And you said there would be only Jasmine Sweet. 2 pending. 2 pending specs, 6 failures. Okay.
Yes. Ignore
Okay,
the
and the pending would be
failures.
yellow. The
Ye-
green is good and red is bad. So I'm going to
yes.
look for yellow.
There won't be any yellow,
Okay.
because when you mark something as pending, it's just going to be ignored. Everything will be red.
Okay, so I'm just going to then look
You
for
need to
the
go back.
X and
Yeah,
find
and
the X in front of things, in front of the
yeah,
test. Okay.
yeah. Unfortunately, to start off, this particular spec is a little bit harder, but I'll try and guide you through it.
Yeah, this is the test itself. Describe.
Mm,
I think you put the X in front
This
of the
is
it, don't you?
this is the IDE spec. That's the old, outdated one.
I
We
thought
want to
that
look at
was it.
the container
The
controller
controller
spec.
spec. I thought that's what I had.
No,
And
not that one.
whoa, why do what happened? Where, okay, hold on. I did pull up, yeah, that's what I have here. Container controller, .js, and then container controller spec.
Okay, it might be a bit outdated. Your previous one. Anyway, this one looks better. Yes.
Right? This
Yep.
is the one that should have the X before each, not there. Just looking. Here's an X, it.
Okay.
That's what I need to look for.
Yep.
Alrighty, that. And there should be 1 and there should be 2. Right?
Yep.
Exit. And then exit. Okay, I got it. So those are the 2 you want me to look at.
Yep.
And so this one is in the describe set editor.
Uh-huh.
Describe. Make editable. Okay, so this is the one in make editable and one in set editor.
Yep. They're actually both the same. So
If I
I mean,
figure one out, I'll figure out the other.
yep. So I think
Okay,
it's better if you start from the bottom one, where
okay.
John was halfway through.
Describe it should have been value.
Yeah. So can you figure out which part of the logic in the container controller is that trying to test?
Okay, well, I know it's definitely trying to test this one, at the bottom one, which is describe set editor. So it's here. It's trying to test this, and which has, what is it trying to test? With a preview defined, should update the contents of the editor. So when you make changes to the content, because it's the editable section, it should update the contents of the editor. Yeah, should update the contents of the other, because there are 2 views, frames, should update the contents of the other frame.
Yeah.
When you make a call, that's what you end call through. Set value. Okay, so what is it? Let me see what.
We'll
Here,
just read
it
the
should be
description.
testing this. Set
Yes,
value,
that's right.
preview, HTML.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, it should update the function editor. So, okay, hold on. What's editor spy? What is the spy on scope editor? You were talking about that yesterday.
Right.
What's
So
a
a Jasmine
spy?
spy is something that wraps around a function and sort of hijacks it. So every time you call the editor.setValue, Jasmine will hijack that function and register, I mean, just keep track of how it's called, pretty much. And then what you see after that, and call true means call the default function after you've hijacked it. So it acts like the old function, but Jasmine is intercepting the call so that
It can be tested.
later, Yeah, so later, so you can see in line 56, he is
Not to have been
expecting
called. Yeah.
something from the spy. So expect this to not have been called. Expect this not to have been called.
Mm-hmm.
So the only way they can do that is to register a spy around that function.
Okay.
Yeah.
Scope preview is equal to element. So then it shows once the spy has hijacked it, then it shows a preview of the actual element that's being changed. I think so.
No, scope.preview equals element. John is trying to replace the scope preview object with element.
Oh, for the editor spy. Oh, scope.preview is equal to element, which is right here. Controller.setEditor. Scope element.parent. Expected to have been called with element. What does it do here?
Scope.preview.
Scope.editor. Set
Oh,
value with the preview
right.
with the set value with a preview of the HTML, but having where does it editor set value?
They're actually testing line 28, which is same logic, in fact. But it might be confusing if you didn't realize it was the other. So
He's testing under this set editor. He's testing this up here. Not make editable, which I thought was the last one that he was testing. Set editor. No, okay. Under here.
yep.
He's
So it's
testing
under set editor.
initialize editor if scope preview, if that's true, editor.set value is equal to, you
Well,
set the value of the editor to that actual, if you have a preview,
right.
okay, but
Yeah, it's not quite if true. If in JavaScript you can use any object in the if block. So if just test that something is present. So if scope, if in brackets scope.preview, that is testing whether or not preview is defined at all.
correct, if it's true.
Yeah.
If, in other words, if it's true, then you set the value to an HTML version of it.
The HTML contents of that preview.
Yeah, exactly. So scope editor, element.find, scope initialize.
Don't worry about the other parts because those are working. We've
The
tested it.
preview defined function of the editor. So yeah, so actually, yeah, that is what he's testing here. And then he puts a spy to intercept it and call through control.setEditor. I don't know why he puts element.parent. Not to have them called scope preview is equal to element. So if scope preview is equal to element, then this should be element. You should have preview. It should be element.html should be what is shown here. Controller.setEditor.
Right.
Is equal to scope called with element. Yeah, but you should. They should be expecting this. If it's true, which is correct, then they should be expecting editor.setValue. They should be expecting this. Right? It should be expect.
Yes.
You say you expect editor spy not to have been called, but they should expect editor.setValue to equal, they should expect this value right here. If I read that correctly.
Yes.
Like that's the syntax, isn't it?
Yep. So, continue reading what John was trying to test. Just keep in mind this is actually failing.
So editor.spy not to have been called, but should update the editor set value and call through a control editor scope there. So it should be, instead of expect editor not to have been called, it should be expect editor spy to have been called.
Nope.
And then the scope.
That's not the issue. Can you tell what John is trying to test here?
He's trying to test if the editor has been updated the contents of the editor has been updated with this element, with the changes. He calls it element.parent though, which is a little weird,
Yeah.
but to have been updated with the element information.
Uh-huh.
Because he's setting the editor, and within the scope he's bringing in the element or element.parent function.
Right.
He's saying expect editor spy not to have been called, but if the editor spy is taking the place of the editor, once you put in the element, it should have been called, and scope preview should equal element, and then it should give you this HTML version of the scope.preview.
Yeah. Okay.
It says here expect editor to have been called. It says here to have. Oh, okay. So he calls it here with element.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's true, but where does he? He says here scope.preview is equal to element. Hold on. Scope editor. Should it be instead of controller.setEditor, element.parent, it should be.
Well, you can actually check the in Jasmine what exactly is failing, which line is failing. So you go back to the browser and just open up Jasmine, refresh this page. Oh, wait, it's still marked with an X. So if you remove the X, then you'll see the failing test. If it distracts you, you can just remove the IDE underscore spec file because of all those X's.
Which file where? Hold on.
IDE underscore spec. You can just delete that whole file if you want, because it comes up with a lot of extra red sweet, which can be distracting. Yeah, that file you can just delete it.
Okay.
Cool. So if you refresh now, it'll get rid of all the
Oh, that helps a lot.
false negatives. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Right. So, yeah, try and figure out from the error messages which part of it is failing. Unfortunately, the stack trace is, usually very large and very unhelpful, but you should try and figure out which part of debugging is figuring out which part of the stack trace is actually meaningful. So you can see it's giving you like the file name, the line number, and the column number of where is the point of failure.
It gives me the file name. It gives me set editor, which is the function that's being called, and then with a preview defined. So I know that it's.
Oh, that is the test description.
Exactly.
Yes.
Which is where did we go? Where did it go? Describe. Where's the preview container? It should with the editor. Here it is. But I don't remember. No. That wasn't it.
No, that's
How did I just hold on? I thought it was
container controller spec.
Was it higher up?
That's weird.
How did it just change on me? I thought it was.
Huh. That's completely wrong. That looks like the old outdated one. That's very weird. Can you close that and I don't know, open the container spec again.
Under spec. Controllers.
JavaScripts. No, not controllers.
JavaScript.
Controllers is all.
Codealia IDE. Controllers.
Yeah.
This.
Yes.
Here. This is, yeah, this is the
Right.
one I was
Okay.
looking at before.
Yep.
Um,
So, okay. Go back to the Jasmine failing spec.
um,
Right. So it's expecting set value to have been called with some long thing, and then yeah. So usually, um, error messages try
so
to
it
be
says it's
helpful.
expecting it to be called, but it says here,
Well, you have to figure out
not,
which line exactly was failing. Can you go back to
yeah.
the Jasmine? Because in the stack trace, they do tell you which line is failing, but most of the time it's going to be a lot of meaningless stuff. Part of debugging is figuring out which part of this entire pile of text is useful. So you can see a lot of them are coming from jasmine.js. So I
Yeah.
usually look at the end of the path, jasmine.js.
But
That
how do I know that it
is,
actually failed? Well, it doesn't say, like with our spec, it kind of tells you what failed.
yeah.
This one doesn't actually tell
Unfortunately,
you what
Jasmine
failed.
isn't as smart. But yeah, you should be able to figure out like the relevant file in there.
Okay. Well, I
Yeah.
know it has to be between like 54 lines 54 and 59 because that's what's
Okay.
being tested. So I
Right.
know that much. JS and what is that 260?
Oh, ignore everything with
Just the
Jasmine.js
last.
because that is inside the framework.
Okay, so I just
Unfortunately,
need
that's
to
included.
look at this one. Only ones that
Yes,
end with container controller spec.
exactly.
59. I don't know why it's 59. It doesn't give me a line number. It's 59, 47. I guess
It's
means
59.
between
59
lines.
means line. No, 47 I think is the column number,
Column.
which you don't really
Okay.
care about. Yeah,
Okay.
if it helps. But I usually just look at the line number,
It
59.
looks like expect EtherSpy to have been called with element. With to have been called with element. And it says here expected to have been called with, I guess, this element. I guess this is the
Yep. So it's
element.
trying to be helpful in printing out the very long representation of the element, but
Like the
it's just
array.
hard. Yeah. So it's expecting it to have been called with that thing. And if you scroll to your right on that page,
Oh,
eventually you'll see, but actually it was called with something else.
but
Yeah.
actual
So
calls were text area class.
yeah. So you can tell it's very different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my
You don't have
God.
to read it.
I'm just wondering, it hasn't ended. Okay, so it's called the very long something else with HTML in there.
Yes. Yep.
So for me to make this test pass, I would have to go into the original file
Yeah.
and change it because it's what to give it what it expects to receive. And
Yes.
what it expects to receive is this.
Uh-huh. Well,
Okay.
the test is failing, but the behavior is correct, so that means the test hasn't been written correctly. So one part of the stuff that John has written is not working correctly.
Um,
So you need to figure out
which
what.
part that is.
Well, you can tell that, line 59 is failing, so I would start from there. So something about line 59 isn't exactly matching
Seven
what
calls with
is
element.
happening.
And what is happening is that, let me see, under, let's see. under the views.
Oh, app assets.
Assets.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for the actual file just to see what the actual file is saying that it what the actual file is saying that it should do.
Codealia IDE, controller, container controller. Yeah.
Just trying to see what it's actually, because this was calling set editor, and set editor is being called. Wait a minute, it's supposed to be called with element, and it's being called with preview initialize editor. Is element dot find passions editor. Oh.
I'll try not to be confused with what's the name of the variable. So John assigned preview to. You can look at the test. So element doesn't mean it's the same element that's used in set editor, because they're in completely different scopes. So don't be confused just because of the name.
Well, scope editor is eighth edit element find. So it looks like he got this information, and that's what they got. That was that long string. That passions editor with an array 0. That was that long string. That's what he initialized the editor with. And this is actually expecting the editor to be element. I think this set the scope preview to be this long information that they got from passions editor, and it was expecting, it looked like, I don't know, an empty element. What that test said looked like an length
Not
1,
quite.
right?
Well, not quite. Can you go back to the file and see what's the difference in how it's called?
Yes.
Yeah, so don't overanalyze the test. I mean the
It's
error
called
message. So right. So in set editor, line 28, he set up a spy for the editor set value function, right? I mean,
in line
he
28
set a
here.
spy in. Sorry.
Here.
He's in line 54. He's setting a spy for the editor set value function, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that means he's spying on the set value function. So in line 28 of the container controller.js, that spy will be called with a certain argument.
It's being called with scope.preview.html.
Yeah, right. So what is the test in line 59 testing for?
It's testing for editor spy. They haven't called with element instead of scope.preview.html.
Okay. So on line 57, what is he doing?
He's setting scope.preview equal to element.
Okay.
Scope.preview. So yeah.
What does that mean? What is the difference between scope.preview and element here now?
Well, there isn't. There should be the same things. Element
Okay.
scope.preview now has the value of element.
Yep.
So
so in line 28 of container controller.js, what is he putting as an input to set value?
So that should equal element.html. The scope.preview.html over in the test, if scope.preview is true, then set the value of the editor to equal that scope.preview, which is element.html. So it's element.html. So to have been called with, it should be element.html function, double parentheses, as opposed to just plain old element. So he's calling, okay, so in the test is saying call the editor spy with regular element, just a plain element, but it
Mm-hmm.
really should be called with the element.html function.
That's right. Yep. So yeah, could you try changing that? And then let's run the test and see what happens.
Rake Jasmine.
Oh, you don't have to rake Jasmine. If the Jasmine task is already running, the server is running, you just need to refresh the page.
Okay. That was it?
Okay. Yeah, so that was it. It passed. Well, why is it ran one spec of...
Because there was only one failure. When I updated it, when I went and reopened the file, there was only that one spec, not that two. Remember originally there were two? I don't know where that second X is. On the
Okay.
spec, there's supposed to be two specs.
I think
They're
it's up
supposed, right?
line 25. Yeah. So that's the next one you have to implement.
And you set up similar. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Make
similar.
editable, which is this one, make editable. And I just need to see what I need to look at the test and see what the problem is, what the failure
There won't
is.
actually be a failure because there's no code in it and you haven't unmarked it. You
Whereas
gotta remove the X
I
from
thought
line
I thought I
25.
did. Hold on. There.
There probably won't be any failure
Okay.
because there's
Why
nothing
not?
inside it. Because there's
Oh,
nothing
oh, it's
written
just
inside of the test. Yeah.
oh,
So
it
it's
should
just a
update the
blank slate.
contents. Oh, okay. So it needs to
Yeah.
match the other one.
Yeah. Well, it needs to be similar, but it should be testing make editable instead of set editor.
I'll make editable. Um, Again, taste scope. It sets the scope preview equal element, and then if the scope editor is true, if it's called, then set the value of the scope editor equal to the HTML version of the scope preview, HTML version of the element.
Yeah.
So
So you can tell they're very similar.
yeah,
In fact,
um, and you said it was line 25 is empty. So describe with an editor defined. It should update the concept editor. Okay. Okay. So let me
yeah.
see.
If it helps, you can just copy and paste that code down there.
I got this right here.
Yep.
And let's see. Up here. It should update the contents of the editor function. Okay. Give me a second just to think about this. It should be 1. It should be 2. I won't need this.
Oh no, you need that. Don't remove that.
They're only 1, 2, right? Okay. Is it closing that? Is there one that I've missed? Okay. I just have 1, 2. Is there one that I've missed? 1, 2. Is this closing? This is closing. This
No,
is closing.
they're all closing. It's fine.
I wonder what it's which one is usually Sublime tells you which one is closing. Oh, it's closing this. Describe the make editable. Okay. Okay. So editor. Let's hold on a second. Editor spy is equal to Spy on scope editor. Make editable. Hold on a second here. Make editable. Scope preview equals element. Okay, so go and intercept it.
So he's still intercepting the call for editor.setValue. Yeah, I guess that's right.
He called the other one with editor. He's calling this one with scope editor.
As a matter of fact, in line 28, could you put back scope? It's actually a bug I just noticed. It should be scope.editor.
Here in 28?
Yeah.
Okay.
With a dollar sign.
Ah.
Yep. That was actually a bug, that it wasn't the same.
When is a preview? That editor. What can you
Yeah. Do you understand what needs to be tested?
well, nothing is actually failing. So
Well, yes, although well,
so
can you go back to the Jasmine browser?
like nothing's
Oh,
failing.
that's interesting. Well, could you, right, after localhost 888, could you get rid of all that parameters?
Okay.
Yeah, everything after that. Because I think that's only testing one spec at a time. Okay, so you have 6 specs all succeeding. Right, but the problem is, even though the tests are passing, it's a false positive because your test that you've described in the block is copy pasted from another test, which is testing something different.
Yeah,
So this
so it
is
should
still
fail,
testing set
right?
editor.
It
No.
should fail. There we go. We got the failure.
Oh, okay. It did fail.
Yeah, no, I updated. I just kept thinking through everything you said and I updated it.
Oh,
So
okay.
so finally I have a failure, something to look at.
Yeah.
So does it make editable? With an editor defined should update the contents. Okay, so then I look here for lines. This is it, I think. Right? 26.
Yep.
Looks like this line is failing.
What is the error here? Spy on cannot find object to spy on. Oh, okay. So that means scope dot editor is actually undefined.
Can I find an object to spy on? Verse 26, scope.editor. How do you know it's that one? That's the only, because that's the only object.
Yep. Could you scroll down to see how John did it? In line 40? Around line 40, I think. So he's already setting editor, so that's why it's defined. Right. Okay, so you just need to think in reverse here because editor, wait. So in here, in the test that John wrote, he already had editor defined, and then he's just testing when you set preview.
But do you have
That
editor defined as the variable aspy?
No, he's calling controller.setEditor, so that will be defining editor.
Where is he calling controller.setEditor? Where is that?
41.
Up one?
41.
Okay, here it is.
So that is setting the editor internally.
Okay.
Yep.
Here.
So you just need to think the other way around. Now, editor is not defined and preview is defined. So you just need the test to work the other way around.
Hold on a second.
Sure.
Editor set. Let me just describe editor. Describe editor. He's calling spy on scope editor, and he defines scope editor controller. Oh, here it is. Okay. So but he did that. He defined it in a before each function. So I need. It looks like I need to add a before each function before I start calling the it.
Well, you don't need to actually in this case. That before each was to set up all the tests after that, but you don't need that
Entire
the same
block.
setup.
I can just Can I just use the controller itself, define the controller, that line?
Oh, don't use set controller because set controller is at in that test set controller is not yet tested. If you know what I mean. Just don't use any of the internal functions when you're testing or making unit tests, because you have to assume that nothing else works and just whatever you're writing here works.
So line 26, if it's scope.editor, and that's the object that's not defined.
Yeah.
So it should be scope.setEditor. No.
No. Well.
Scope.
What you could do is just set the
I don't.
Come to think of it, that's a bit of a chicken and egg problem. You have to test both set
Scope.initialize editor. Here.
No, don't use that. I think okay, fine. All right, use set editor, but set editor scope element of parent. Yeah, okay, just use set editor. That's fine. Yes, just use set editor. But yeah, so you need to use set editor before you call that spy. It'll be controller.setEditor, by the way.
It is?
Yep.
It doesn't. And set it with the usual scope and element.parent?
Yes.
Does that work? Control, let's set it as scope. Scope.editor. Still failing. Same failure.
Why is it failing?
Should a container make editable with and should update the contents of the editor. Expected set spy set value not to have been called, and it was called. expected SPI set value.
Okay, that's
Yeah, it says and call through.
not to have been called. Yes, so actually it will be called, in fact.
Yeah.
Do you know
Says you
why?
expect editor SPI to have been clear, yeah, because it says it right
No,
here in the
29.
spec.
It's 29 that's failing.
Oh, what? Expected SPI set value not to have been called. Not to have, yeah, well, it shouldn't have been called. Did they, hold on. Make editable. Well, it's because, and so under here, because it says here call through. So should it be and not call through, or just and not even put call through at all? Just do editor equals SPI and don't do the call through, right?
No, I think you should do the call through. But do you know why that function was actually called? There is a reason.
Um, I know this scope that editor. I I am I presume it's called through so you could populate this set editor with the information with elements paren and the scope. So editor SPI here spies on the scope editor. It also sets the value and then it does the call through. So it acts to call through to basically fill up the, to execute the controller set editor with put information inside of it. Put the scope and the element params inside of it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but do you know why it was called instead of not being called?
Well, yeah, well, you told it. It's being called because it's supposed to update the contents of the editor.
Yeah, that's right. Because preview is already defined. So when you call set editor with a preview, it is going to call editor.set value on something.
The
So
preview
that
is defined up here. It's the preview is defined another it block. It's totally separate from this one.
yeah, the preview is defined in the
Oh,
before
scope,
each.
here it is. Before each
Nope.
set fixtures. Describe.
Before each in 18.
Yeah. Here, it sets the preview attribute on the scope object. Expect scope.preview to equal element. Here is where preview is being called. Right? In the before each function. Well, actually, it's a describe block. It block. That's where you actually see scope.preview. Is that what you mean? The reason I say that is because scope.preview equaled element, it's called, but it's called here on line 30. It's not
Yes,
called. It's not called all the way up here.
because in line 17's controller.make editable, if you look inside the function, it's actually calling scope.preview equals the element already. So it's being called in that function.
Okay.
Yes, line 30 was not called at all, even though it is assigning preview to something. That is not the function that was assigning the preview.
So you're saying this call through happened because of this code here. The call through happened because the
No,
describe make.
the call through has nothing to do with this, in fact.
So what's the preview? This preview, you're asking me, Why was this call through? The test is
No,
expecting it.
why was 29? It was expecting the function not to have been called, but then
Correct.
it was called.
Yeah, because SPY set value is being called here, and it says call through. I mean, that's
Oh
what.
no, no, the call through has nothing to do with that. Do you know what does the call through do? And dot call through.
Well, I'm presuming on the editor SPY that it's telling it to implement to execute because the
Okay.
SPY is intercepting what the scope editor normally does. So I'm presuming that call through means for it to actually go through and implement instead of intercepting and like basically blocking it, for it to actually call through and implement what scope editor dot editor would have done. Does that sound right? You know how typically with like mocks and fixtures, they'll intercept the real creation of an object and they'll sort of create a dummy object. It won't really do anything. So I'm
Uh,
presuming that with the editor SPY, it intercepts the scope editor, creates an object, but it doesn't actually do what the editor would have done. It doesn't actually follow through.
yes,
So
that's right.
when it says call through, you're saying here, okay, we want you to intercept the editor, get all the set value, and then we want you to actually implement what the scope editor would have done. Call through, like
Yes,
actually do it, do the job, carry
that is
through,
right. That's right. So when you okay in line 29, when you're expecting something to have been called, do you
right?
know what that means?
Oh yeah, well
It
it
has
should be expect editor SPY to have been called, but
right.
it says here not to have been called.
Yeah.
But that's what the test expects. But it shouldn't. But that shouldn't be the case because it should be to have been called because you're telling it to call through on line 27.
No, it has nothing to do with the call true, in fact. So um, testing whether spy has been called
Mm-hmm.
will just see if that spy has intercepted any calls to that function at all. So if that function is never called, then the spy would not have been called. Do you understand? It doesn't have anything to do with calling true.
Oh, it has
That happens after the spy is called.
correct. You're saying that
Yes.
you're saying here that the SPY was never even called.
It's um,
It's not supposed to have
that
been called.
expect it is expecting it not to have been called, but it
Mm-hmm.
was called.
Oh, expected not to have been called, but it was called. So where was it called? Expected SPY set value not to have been called. But that means that in the code, the SPY set value was really called. Make editable. Uh, make editable. Scope.editor set value. If scope.editor, which is here, which is what the SPY on is intercepting. So that is true. If it's true, then call set value. Then scope.editor should implement, do the set value method, call set value on scope.editor with these parameters, with the preview of the scope preview, this scope preview, so to speak. So yeah, so the code, okay, so the code is saying that set value should be called and it should show a preview, an HTML preview of this element. Scope preview is equal element. So it should show a HTML element preview. So this is wrong.
Well, yeah, because that is copied and pasted from John's test for a different function altogether, but they will be testing the same principle, really. I mean, what the tests are is, it will test the same principle. You just need to modify a couple of lines here. So, which part of this do you need to modify? That is the question. There will
well,
obviously be some stuff that are failing. So, which one is it that you need to modify? Well, obviously, line 30 where he's setting the preview object. The preview is already set in this case, so you don't need to check that at all.
The preview is set up here. The preview is not set anywhere else. The element, I guess what the code is saying that it's saying, okay, here's this element value, and we're going to set it into the HTML. We're going to take that information and set it into the HTML using scope.editor set value. And so it should call through. So as far as I can tell, this is where the test seems to be the negative. This set value should be called. It should be called so that you can preview, do an HTML preview of this. So I would change the test so that set value actually is called. Is that correct? Is that thinking correct? Because it should be called so you can see
Yes.
this HTML preview of the element, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, you say I don't need this code. Oh. But this scope.preview, it has not been, unless it's in a before each, it has not sets the preview element of the scope object. It's been called up here. Scope preview to equal element. So it's been called up here in this it block. And to me, it should be expect editor spy to have been called. That's what I would change here. Control that set editor scope element brand expect to have been called with element, to have been called with yeah, scope preview equals element of HTML. Yeah, that's correct. That's what I think should be. Expect editor spy. Same thing though. To have been called. Aha. Why is it repeated then? Hold on. Okay. I'm gonna try this. Type error undefined is not a function.
Right. Also notice that, all the lines here are calling controller.setEditor, but you're trying to test controller.makeEditable. So you need to change a few of them to make editable. Yeah. If you comment out line 31, it will actually pass.
But it's not that. But it's not correct, is it?
It is almost correct, but no, line 26 was correct.
Was correct previously. It's not a make editable.
Nope. The reason we're calling that was to set editor. Well, the change you did to 28 was fine.
Yeah, I got it. I understood you correctly. Line 29. Oof, expect and called with controller. Here. What's wrong with that line? What's wrong with that line?
What did he change?
Element.html. What's wrong with that line? Expect
Make
editor
editable.
spy to have been called. Controller.make editable. They're both controller.make editable. Except for the first one.
Okay.
Scope element paren. And it says here, expect editor spy to have been called with element.html. That's correct, right?
Right.
Element.html. But the error is saying it's not a function of value. Undefined is not a function. Expect editor to have been called with element.html. It says here, expect editor spy.
Element.html. So element. Okay,
What's wrong with it?
Element dot. Let me think. Undefined is not a function. That's an interesting one. By the way, can you remove line 32 and 31 because that's just duplicating line 28 and 29.
Yeah, but it still fails. I mean, I guess that was. I don't know. I don't see, unless they want us to use scope. Maybe they want to use scope.preview. That shouldn't make a big difference, though. But I'm just wondering. I'm wondering if that'll do it. It should be equal to the same thing. Should be equal to the same thing.
Well, you might find.
So value equals.
Just refresh the adjustment.
can't find variable scope in. What?
Okay, no, without the dollar sign, in fact. In this case, scope is access without the dollar sign. Undefined is not a function. Set editor, make editable. Oh, okay. Make editable. Right. I see where your issue is.
Where is
I
it?
think you've got, it's in line 29. You've copied too much out of line 26. So it should just be element, not element.parent. Yeah, maybe having you start off with this was a little bit too much without the parents after element.
But all of the other elements have taken. All the other elements have taken. Have all been element.parent.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
Okay, great. What's
This
the reason for
particular
that?
test is a little hard. Oh wait, by the way, line 28, you need to close, put a closing parens.
Line 28.
Yeah, this
Closing
test
friends
setup
here.
is a little bit
Like
yes.
this?
No, not without the opening one. It's to
What?
close the make editable function.
Where is it make editable? Oh, okay. Alrighty. Oh, sorry. I didn't see that. Okay. Yeah, they're all closed. Yeah.
Yep.
Uh-oh. What do I do?
What happened?
Taking out that parentheses. Hold on, it should be
Oh,
like
that
this.
can't be
Taking out that
right.
parentheses. Let me just check. Let me just check some. I did something wrong. It
No.
was just passing. It was just passing. Was there something yeah.
I fine. Oh no, don't um
Don't go
just
backwards.
leave it as angular. Leave it as element
Okay.
without the that parens that you have.
Where's let me just see where the failure is coming from. There it is. Scope.preview the HTML in line 29. Scope.preview.html. Type it is not a function evaluating. Haven't called.
Right. Okay, so that's a bit strange. So make it.
Isn't that how they do it though? Yeah, it is.
It's not a function. Why would that not be a function? Element.
Let me just get this. I'm trying to think. What was it I changed before that had a passing?
Okay. Can you replace scope.preview with element instead?
Oh, excuse me.
No, still not working.
Yeah. There was some.
Oh, okay. That I noticed your error. Can you? Okay. It's actually you mistyped to have been called with. The W is
To have
capital.
been called. Are you kidding me? With? To have been called. Each word's capitalized. Each first letter, whatever camel case, is capitalized.
Yep, camel case. Well, now it's passing.
Okay, having gone through that, can you tell me what was the pivotal thing? Like, obviously this is repeated, I got that. But I think it was repeated down here, that was okay.
No, it's not quite the same because he's testing two different
Set
logics.
editor, got it.
Yeah. Yeah. That was probably quite a lot to take in. For first test, that is actually a fairly complex one. Hopefully we can get you to write smaller ones next time. Yeah. So I mean, do you have any questions for me
No,
about that?
I guess, you know, I'm gonna look up some more Jasmine tests just so I can see some like simpler implementations. Angular's probably not the the first step in learning how to test with
No.
Jasmine. You know what I mean? It's like a
Yeah.
little high level that I think testing
Yes.
Angular with Jasmine. I'm going to look up maybe testing some jQuery, like which I know pretty well with Jasmine,
Mm-hmm.
like more JavaScript that's a little more vanilla flavored as opposed to MVC because they're objects moving around here, and I'm just
Right.
I need to figure out how Jasmine works before I can and figure out these matches a little bit more. Because, for example, like the scope dot editor versus um, free, like what's the difference between scope dot editor and $ scope dot editor?
Um, well, $ scope.editor is, well, there's no difference because those are just variable names.
Right.
But scope, in the test we define it as scope rather than $scope.
Okay.
Um, that's we could probably change it to the other way around.
No.
Um,
Whatever you have.
yeah. No, no,
I'm just
no.
trying to figure out like
I mean,
how you're doing it.
your input is valuable, and since this is the first time we're writing Angular Jasmine test, we could
Hmm.
be wrong. It might be confusing having it as scope rather than $scope. So you could be right. We should probably change that to $scope to make it easier for us.
Okay. Well,
Cool.
I
Okay.
gotta pull up some more tests then, so just so I can understand the logic a little bit more
Sure.
behind it
Uh-huh.
I'm but I'm ready for. I presume once I actually, if I'm refactoring or something, the test will make a
Right.
lot more sense to me.
Okay. Could you commit those changes and pass it on, ping it over to me? I
Okay.
think what I'm gonna do is just looking at a test I think is a bit complicated. So I'm gonna refactor a few tests and add one or two more pending stuff, and you can try and implement that. It should be easier, I hope.
Okay.
No, tests might just get more complicated than I want it to be sometimes. So hopefully I'm not going to give you something too hard.
All right, hold on. Okay, hold on a second. I'm just trying to get the GitHub Pong git push.
Make sure you've commit. Did you commit? Yep.
Yeah, git add. Hold on. First of all, git status. What have I done so far? Um, Okay, so git add git commit minus m updated to test to Jasmine test, right?
Yep.
And then git push upstream Ryan IDE reborn.
Whoa.
Right?
Wait. What? No. Yeah, you should be pushing to your own repository.
Viv. Whoa. Oh,
Yeah, you have Brian upstream
sorry.
stuff.
Git push upstream develop, git push upstream
Origin.
IDE.
It should be origin.
Because that's where I'm on. Hold on.
That's your
Because it's the
own
branch I'm on,
repository.
isn't it? The branch I'm on, isn't it IDE? Am I not on a branch of, right? Am I
Yes,
not
you are
on
on.
IDE reborn Viv?
Yes.
Right? So if I'm instead of doing should be git push upstream to the branch, right?
Well, upstream. Do you know what your upstream is?
My upstream right now is IDE reborn Viv.
No, upstream is the repository you're trying to push to. Upstream is what we usually set to as Agile
Develop.
Ventures Codealia.
Right.
That is the main.
So I should be doing git push IDE reborn Viv,
You should
or
be
because
pushing git push then repository, which will be origin for you. Git push origin then IDE reborn Viv.
so you're saying every time I do git push upstream, I'm actually pushing to the Codealia, not to my upstream, not to my origin.
Yes. You probably won't be able to push to upstream anyway because you don't have the right permissions. Alright, looks like Marcelo wants in on a couple of Jasmine testing too. Yeah, well, I'll try and
Go for it.
reserve something for you too.
Uh-huh. Whew.
Yeah,
Uh,
just push it up,
uh,
then I'll pull yours in, and I'll do a bit of refactoring to some of the tests.
okay. Okay. So
Yep, I mean Marcelo, you and Viv can work together if you want.
okay.
Okay, cool. I am fetching Viv IDE. Cool.
Oh,
Oh
I feel
wait.
like mm, mm.
Yeah.
It's like I can never learn enough tests. Do you know I do more testing than I do coding? Or I should say more figuring out tests than I do like code. Coding is
Really?
actually like such a pleasure. Because at least I like know that, I like at least I know what's going on
Yeah.
better.
True.
You know what I mean? Like testing is like I don't know.
Takes a while to get used to the idea of testing things.
Yeah.
Um.
Uh, Coding, at least I can figure it out relatively quickly. If there's an error, at least
Yeah.
you kind of like, I kind of like have a clue how to go about debugging it. It's at least it seems more straightforward, but I have to learn to test, obviously. Anyway.
Yes. We all love testing in here. Okay, that before each.
I didn't know that.
So I'm just moving tests around a little bit. Okay, so it looks like you haven't removed the IDE spec from Git. So when you're trying to remove something from Git, there are two ways you can do it. You can do, instead of like the usual rm delete file, which you deleted it off Sublime, right?
Yes, I
Viv?
did. Yes, I did.
Okay. So what you did was, okay, I'll show you what you did. So as delete spec JavaScript ID, Codealia IDE spec, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I did that. So that's exactly what you did in with
Sublime.
Sublime.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the changes are not tracked or staged for commit. So when I do git add dot, then git status, it is still not staged for commit because
Why not? Everything else
um,
is.
yes, I think git treats delete differently. So in order to stage that deletion, you need to
Done.
do git add dot dash a. Dash a means add everything including deletes. So when I go to git status again, the delete is now staged to be committed.
Oh, I see. So do I have to do this again with git add dash a space dash a?
Yes, but you don't need. Yeah, don't do that now because I've done it already.
Okay.
But yeah, for
Git
future
add
reference.
space dot a, and that instead of git
Git
add space dot
git add space dot is fine, but you need to add the extra option dash a.
dash a. Okay, got it. Git
You have to
add
include
space dot.
deleted files and untracked files. Yeah.
Right.
So if I go refresh this again, yeah, everything's passing. Good.
Okay.
Events, Bion, what is this? Set editor
God, that took a while. Okay.
to have called.
Great.
If I put this here and on event spy, just refactoring tests. Nope,
Okay.
that didn't like it. Get session of undefined. Oh, yes, now I know why that happened. Yeah, so I'm just moving tests around and cleaning up things. With the preview defined, expect something to have been called with this. What else? Without a preview defined. This will be container controller JS. Set editor. Okay. Right. One thing I wanted to do was dry that up a bit. Scope dot update editor. Because I noticed we were actually duplicating things. So I'm just gonna replace that with scope dot update editor. And that should maybe make it a bit easier to test. Register, predefined. Oh well. Actually, then it wouldn't matter anymore without these. All I need to do is that. It should expect. Update editor spy. spy scope. Update editor spy to have been called. Yep. So I think this is. So what I've done is I've just extracted everything to a new method called scope.updateEditor. Instead of having, in each one an if block, which is pretty much duplicated. So I'm just drawing it out. Created this function. Yep, go ahead.
That function, and from that function, that one function then is called from all the other functions that you're writing?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm just calling the update editor function. So I'm just checking that I am calling update editor.
Got it. I see it. So that's in on the right hand side under this dot make editable and this dot set editor. Right? That you call the update editor on your right hand side, container underscore controller.js. Are you calling it as well in the test spec?
I'm calling make editable and set editor, which is internally calling update editor.
On the spec itself?
Yes.
Where's the update editor function? I don't see it. Is it on this? I mean, it's on the controller.js. It's in a before each block? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. So hopefully this should pass. No, none of them is passing. Scope is undefined. What does that mean? Oops. Scope. What? Update editor. Right. I obviously broke something. Scope is not defined. Oops.
It's crazy. This Jasmine seems, is it me? It seems a little bit more complicated than our spec. I think Cucumber is actually simpler than this.
Yeah, the syntax is not as friendly because of the nature of the language. You have to write it in JavaScript, so which is unfortunate. So you're limited to the JavaScript syntax. This is as good as it gets with a testing, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Cool. So that's all passing.
Cool.
So all this refactoring is working. So I've renamed it to $scope, which should help.
Okay, good. There's no difference. It'll just be one.
So,
one quick question. When you were doing more advanced or, whatever, maybe I should call it intermediate Ruby because advanced Ruby is like Armando and Sam and stuff. When you were doing more intermediate Ruby, did you go through Ruby koans and Ruby Monk as well, Brian? Kind of trying to follow in your footsteps here. What did you use? What did you use to level up, to get higher level intermediate Ruby skills?
I think I didn't really go through any of those resources. I just learned it when I needed it, because I knew basic Ruby, which is good enough for Rails. Rails is pretty much basic Ruby. Then I sort of picked up the more intermediate stuff when I tried to implement a bit more advanced features in Rails.
Okay.
So I think
where did you go to? I'm just wondering where to go, because I've started getting like the real challenging stuff.
Yeah, I think you just need to.
Where should I go to seek documentation, or just go to the API, Ruby API, and figure it out from there?
Well, I learn a lot from just looking at Stack Overflow questions. That's all.
Okay.
Google usually comes up with pretty good hits.
Okay.
Yeah, the Ruby documentation can be a bit dry, so it's hard to read through that. So Stack Overflow is a great resource.
Okay.
I would say.
Alrighty. That's it.
Cool.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay.
Oh, what is this? Marcelo has all this stuff for my getting 2.1.1. And let me see
Okay.
if I'll see if I can implement that for next time.
Okay.
I mean, I have tried it. I'm not quite sure why it's not implementing. Anyway.
Right. Generate preview. Preview. So I'm doing more refactoring. It's just renaming a function here. And that should not break any tests. Good. Okay, so I'm gonna add a couple more tests now because I've extracted them. I've extracted that logic into an update editor and into a separate function called update editor. I should probably test update editor. So describe, and this is also update preview, which wasn't tested before. It, let's see, should update preview, it should not call, should not, should check for the, okay, wait, let me test the happy path. It should set the preview contents. It should, no, it should update the contents of the preview. That's it. That's a good function. Describe with preview and with preview and editor defined. So put that in the describe block. Okay, so I'll mark that as pending. Describe without a without preview with without a preview. Without a editor. It should not try to let me think if this test is even worth it. Yeah, I think this seems about right. Well, maybe we don't need to test this if. Okay, with a preview and editor defined. Okay, it should, without a preview, it should, okay, I'll rewrite this test. Should not throw an exception. And I'll do that here as well. Should not throw an exception. Cool. So I've got 3 pending steps here. That's for update preview.
How do you make something not throw an exception with an else statement? With like an if this, else that, and the else would cover when it would usually throw an exception?
There's actually a matcher for this.
Should not throw exception. Okay. Okay. In Jasmine, alrighty.
Yeah. It should not, I think it just should not throw or something. Cool. Update editor. Without a preview, should not throw an exception without an editor. Trying to be grammatically correct here. So with a preview and editor defined, it should update the contents of the editor. Cool.
Brian, how many languages do you speak?
English, just one.
Okay.
Yep. English is my first language. Cool, so there are a bunch of pending stuff now. Should not throw an exception without a preview. Should not throw an exception without an editor. With a preview and editor defined, it should update the contents of the preview. And it should describe with a, okay. Oh, oops, that was not necessary. Cool. I think I've covered most of it. Yep, so we just need these few tests up. All right. Yeah. So I will commit this.
And we all pull down from your commit, Marcelo and I, to finish those tests?
Yep.
Okay.
Refactor tests. Pending tests. So, yes. Cool. So this is pushed up to my IDE Reborn branch. Yep, there are a bunch of stuff that needs to be implemented. So once you've done with these, I think it's all good to go. After that, let me just run rspec and okay, rspec is passing. So yes, I mean, once you've done with this, you can make a pull request out of it. Cool. Yeah, everything's working. Oh yes, but you have to merge with. Okay, wait. Don't download. I mean, don't get it yet. Let me go through the hassle of merging with upstream. Okay, no merge conflicts. That's good. Okay, so now, yeah, so I've merged with upstream. There are a couple of pending steps. Hopefully you can get to work on that. I unfortunately can't stay any longer. I've got to go sleep. I have to get up early tomorrow.
Yeah, it's late over there. Will do. Okay.
Yep. Okay. So yes, once you guys have done with this, just make a pull request and I'll review it when I have free time. All right.
Sounds good. Yep, will do.
Cool.
Bye-bye.
All right. Yeah, good job today. Yeah, you guys should try and pair on this. My branch is called IDE Reborn. It's a nice name.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, cool. Yes, I'll end the broadcast.